Good evening, everybody, and welcome to McStabber Studios. Tonight, instead of our normal Windy City After Dark, that is in this time slot, of course, we're going to go through my unique Session Zero method, and I'll talk about what the unique Session Zero method is in a second. But first, let me let the rest of the cast introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. I am Ravnos Archon in chat. My name is Will, and I will so excited to show off the 3 clans I've chosen today.
Hello, friends. I am Reverend Benjamin Powers, here to once again pollute the stream with my particular personality.
Hi everyone, I'm Gray. I'm new here, but I'm really excited now. Let's make everything good about it.
For those that don't know, I do a unique Session Zero method. You should call it Session -1, really. And there's a story behind it, but the gist of the story is when I first played Vampire in 93, I was given not enough time to read the book to be able to start playing the game. So I had to skim through the book, and I skimmed through what it said about Session Zero, and I obviously read it wrong because this is the result of that. And whereas normally Session Zero, you create your character, you've written your background, and then you play your Session Zero where you're spending your time as a kindred to get a feel for your character before Session 1. My version of Session Zero starts off with, we determine your life as a kindred or a human before you are embraced. And we go through your whole life to see how it works out. And then you get to find out who embraced you. And to start this off, each player here has 3 clans that they would like to be embraced by. So let's start with Ravnos Archon. What are your 3 clans?
Surprisingly, Ravnos is not on the list. I have Bruja, I have Ventru, and I have Simitsi.
Okay.
Wow.
Ben, what are your 3?
I have chosen the Nosferatu, the sub-line of the Hecate, the Semeti, and the Malkavian.
Okay, and then for Gray, yours?
I've chosen Gangrel, Ventru, and Banu Hakim.
Interesting choices all around. So to start this off, we're going to go around and we're going to find out from each person the year they were born. So Ravnos Archon, when were you born? Your character, not you.
Correct. Grigori was born January 29th, 1881.
1881. Okay. And when is your approximate where you're aiming for embrace year?
I was aiming for 1915.
Okay.
Just after World War I started.
Okay. Now, Ben?
Just had to check and make sure my mute was not, yeah. I was born in 1990 and was embraced last year.
So in 2020. Wow. So
yeah.
You're going to spend a lot of this Session Zero method helping out with everybody else, and you'll see how, because this is not just a one-person effort. The whole group and chat will be able to participate. Gray?
I've been born in 1890, and been embraced around just while the war was starting, so something like 1915.
Okay. So looking at this, the oldest characters, of course, would be Ravnos Archon, so 1881. But it's never any good to start at birth because you wouldn't remember anything from birth. So we're going to start in the year 1886, okay? Your character, Ravnos, is 5 years old.
Yes.
So the initial questions to ask, where were you born?
I was born in Russia, and after Alexander II's assassination, my parents left, fearing for their lives, and settled in Prussia, the Kingdom of Prussia in Germany.
Now, when you were 5, had you already moved to Prussia?
Yeah.
Okay. So you bring up your parents. Let's talk about your parents real quick. They both alive?
Not anymore. Not by the modern day.
Well, no, at age 5. Because the year right now, we're still in 1886. That's the year we are right now. So your both parents are alive.
Both of them are still alive. Both of them are still well.
Any siblings?
None.
No siblings. Interesting.
I'm the last of my line.
Is the last of your line. So we've got an initial start here. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on. Do you know what your parents do for a living? How they earn money, or do you not know because you're 5?
I don't know enough. I know that I'm always around animals. So I can
Okay.
assume later, looking back, that we might have had some kind of farm.
Okay, that's a good thing to note. Okay. Now let's go into, you didn't have much money if you're just around animals or on a farm, did you?
No.
Okay, that's good to know too.
A lot of self-made clothing.
So since you're around animals, let's find a good thing to ask you about how you would react to certain events when you're at this age. One of the animals on your farm ran away. Okay. Your parents, of course, your father in particular, definitely is going to go looking for him. Are you worried about the animal missing, or does it affect you at all?
I think I would be, seeing how much care is shown to them. I don't consider them livestock. I think they're just extended members of the family.
Okay. And did you help look? I mean, you wouldn't go far, but even a 5-year-old would help look, wander in the right around the house and at least try to feel like they're being part of it. Or did you stay inside to avoid it?
A little of both. I think I would have checked under furniture. I would have gone to the places that I'm allowed to go to, like the barn, if anything, the outhouse, the perimeter. I don't think I would have pushed boundaries.
Was the animal ever found?
I don't think he was. It was.
Now, I take notes this whole time, even though, I use it for reference when we come back to various points. Now, for those that are here in chat and the other players here, you can throw questions in chat on Twitch. If you have channel points, please highlight them. It makes it easier for me to find. If you don't have channel points, I understand. Does Ben or Gray have any questions they want to ask this 5-year-old kid? And if not, we can skip on to another year.
Not yet, no.
Are you cold or warm?
I don't think. I think there's more cold memories than warm memories.
I mean, at the time that the animal went missing, is it cold out or is it hot out?
No, it's cold.
It's cold.
Yeah, I would have had.
Is it
I would have
cold?
had layers.
Is it cold in the house as well as outside?
Not as cold, but it is cold.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a good one. We got a good one from Monk. What type of animals did the family have?
I would say goats, sheep, some hens, maybe some ducks.
That's a good one. I like
Nothing
that
big.
one.
Yeah, nothing big.
So Mickey wants to know what type of animal went missing.
I will say it was one of our sheep.
One of the sheep. Okay,
Yeah.
now I see there's some other good ones about educated. We're going to use the educated when he's a little older, because I think at 5, there wasn't much education going on yet. And viewing your parents sway, Bardic Sway asked, we'll probably come up with that one too. There's a good one though for this age at 5. How did you feel about having to leave your home country?
Ooh, I don't think I would have remembered anything from my home country, so I would have considered Prussia home.
That's good to know that. That actually is a good point.
Yeah.
So let's jump ahead now. We're going to go to 1890, and we'll stick first with Ravenous Archon's character before we jump over, because you were born, and we might as well, since we're on the same year you were born, we might as well do something with it when we come to you here, Gray. But that would actually put you at 9 years old now. Still in Russia or in Prussia, or have you moved?
No, we have moved because my father has been murdered.
Oh, see, there's father murdered. Let's make that note.
Yeah. So my mother has flown to Verdun, France.
You've moved to France. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the obvious question is, how did that affect you?
It has been life altering because I loved my father, and I think that I would have willingly followed in his footsteps, and now I think I'm lost at sea, especially with the culture shock of leaving what I've known and going into this new territory of France.
So now we know how you felt about your father. How do you feel about your mother now that she's having to take over?
I mean, I'm frustrated because she doesn't have the skills to really do anything for us. So I'm the one that's kind of sitting in sweatshops with her and trying to become more of an adult than I should be.
It's got to be rough at 9 years old like that. Let's see. I'm looking to see some of the other ones. So you're 9. You've had to kind of grow up. Do you manage to get much of an education, or is it all education on the streets working?
Mostly street stuff.
Did you learn to read?
Yeah. I think there was definitely some tactile factory owner who took pity on me and tried to make me the son he never had. So he might have taught me to read to kind of balance some of the numbers.
That's good. We don't need to know where he got his shoes. I'm going to leave that one out, Mickey. We're trying. We don't want to run this all the way for a 5-hour stream.
In the forest.
Is your mom around during the day but away at night? That's an interesting question. Does she work nights? Because sweatshops don't shut down.
Yeah.
That was the point of a sweatshop.
Yeah. I think she might have. The insinuation of the question, I think, is something that I don't think I would have paid attention to.
Not at 9?
No.
Okay.
I think he would have believed that she is staying in the factory late.
Okay. We'll remember. We're going to come back to that one because it does raise some questions for the next time. Let me make a note so I can make sure I don't forget. Let's cut over to Gray. This is the year you were born. Where were you born?
In Bordeaux, in France.
Another living in France at this time. Parents?
Both alive at this moment, yeah.
Yeah. Well, because question would be, did mother survive childbirth? Father's still there. It wasn't, that kind of thing. So both parents together. That's good. You got any siblings?
Not yet.
Okay. And no siblings. That's good to know. Now, at just born, you won't remember much. So we're gonna skip ahead a bit before we come in and ask you the big questions on there. So let's stick with what we're doing. Actually, yeah, let's keep what we're doing here at about a 4 to 5 year jump. Because we want to jump to you at 5, we'll go to 1895. Okay. Now that puts Ravnos Archon's character is 14. What changes do you have?
I'm not in France anymore. My father is actually in import-export, and we moved to the US, to Nouvelle-Orléans, New Orleans, because he's from there. Actually, he's from New Orleans. My mother is from France, and with his moving and import, he encounters my mother and married her. And when I was born, he decided to take all the family back to his country and to his estate.
Okay, so if you're 5 years old and you're in New Orleans, have you got any siblings yet?
No, not yet.
Still no siblings. Okay.
No.
So what is your father does import exports? Your mom do anything, or is she just at the time standard, take care of the house?
Yeah, she take care of me. She's actually educating me, so she takes care of me. She's mom at home, and because my father is a lot away to other countries, on the boats and everything, so he's not home quite often. And my mom takes care of me, and we are rich enough to have some people to look after the house as well.
So, so that answers a question. So you've got money. So I've got a question for you. One day you're out front because you're in New Orleans, so you're living in the city area. You're out front of your house or your row house. Actually, it's they were doing almost the townhome style, but it's not quite called that. My brain forgets what they called them. But you're out front of your place, and a couple of the kids, street toughs, really, because they don't have anything. They come up, and there's 4 of them, probably, you guess, about 8 years old, and they surround you, and they start talking about they want to take your clothes, your shoes, give them anything you have. What do you do?
I'm quite alone a lot, but I manage to keep myself every time. So I take the first that's speaking and was speaking about taking my clothes, and I hit him.
Okay. So since this is your story, not mine, how does that play out? Does it scare them off, or do you end up, fighting it, but you get a bit of a beat down in the process? What ends up happening?
I get a little of beat down, but I managed to I'm not get quite a beat down. Really, I try to stay up and everything. Every time I try to get up and again, and they don't like it. They want me to push me down. And afterwards, someone of the house sees what's happening and try to push everybody aside and try to make order. But the 4 people are running away.
So you're hard to keep down, even though, even when pushed down and beat down, you're still getting back up. You're not one to surrender and to give up. That's a good thing to note there. I like Ivy Raven's question. How do you treat your hired help?
They are part of my family. They are taking care of my mom. I'm really protective to my mom, and because she's alone, and everybody else is taking care of the house of my mom. So it's like they are part of the family.
So let's see. You got any questions you want to ask Gray, Ben, or Ravnos Archon?
How did you feel after the fight? Was it a sense of accomplishment? Was it fear? Was it shock at what you did? What were the feelings afterwards? And was it something that you wanted to have happen again?
I'm not planning to that it happen again, but I know I'm not going to let them have their way. But I'm tired. I'm kind of scared. When they went off, I started to cry. I'm only 5. I was scared. It was like it was not a pleasant surprise. But I know in my mind it's like, wait, and next time I'll see them.
So that leads into a question that Bardic Sway asked. Did you ever try to get revenge on the bullies if you can find them alone? So you just said you were looking to see if you could try to see them. Were you hoping to catch them alone instead of in a group?
I will not get revenge, but I will show them that I'm not afraid of them, even if it's not true.
Did you come clean about the fight when you got home, or did you try to hide your bruises and your scuffle?
No, I couldn't hide it. It was impossible because my nose was bleeding and everything. So I couldn't hide it, but I didn't want to hide it as well. So it was like, I was not proud of it, but I didn't want to hide it.
Oh, that's a good one to know. Let's flash over to Will's character. You're 14. How's things going with your mom and working sweatshops?
At this point, I no longer know. I have lied about my status and my age, and I have stowed away and made my way to England at this point.
So you ran away?
I've run away from home.
So did you store away, or did you lie about your age and sign up to be on a ship? Because England was really recruiting ships,
Yeah, I might have lied about my age to become like a merchant marine, merchant sailor, and then just kind of once we got to port in London or wherever, I might have just run into the street and
Slipped away?
yep,
Hmm.
mixed in.
So why did you leave?
I just couldn't take it anymore.
Hmm. Did you have any, you didn't have any siblings because you've said you're pretty much the last of your line. So I'm assuming you still didn't have siblings.
Not by the time I left. No.
So I got a question before you left, going back to what Ivy Raven's question was insinuating. Did you have a lot of uncles that came by at odd times?
I think there were a lot of gentlemen that were trying to weasel their way into my mother's heart, and that might have been one of the reasons why I think I might have gotten wise to what was going on, and it kind of sickened me.
So what'd you think of it being on a ship?
It was fantastic until seasickness hit, and then it was less fantastic.
Let's see. We're going to go. I like Mama McStabber's question. We'll go back to Gray in a minute on that one because that's a good one. But so what was your actual breaking point? That was from the Couch Coward. What was the breaking point that made you finally decide just to run for it?
I think it was the always being behind the eight ball sensation of never having enough money to make ends meet and always kind of squirreling things away, like having to hide food for myself. Because it felt like I was solitarily trying to keep the ship afloat.
Okay. And Bardic Sway had a good one. Your biggest emotional or trade skill takeaway that you learned while on the ship?
Not work. And conservation of sleep, getting the most out of a little bit.
Being able to sleep anywhere you can, when you can, because you don't know when you're getting more of it, and to, maximize what you can. Did running away accomplish what you wanted it to?
I don't know yet.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out when he's a little older. I want to go back to the Gray one, though, because that was a good one. How did your mother react to the fight?
She was quite mad because she told me I shouldn't be fighting. I should try to make some friends. She was quite mad, but afterwards, she's my mom, so she take care of me. She take care of my nose, of my injuries and everything. But still, while she's doing that, she's French mom likes to sermon, like so she I've got I'm not I'm not good with my mom, like not yelling. She's not yelling, never yelling, but she's showing me what to do and what is
She wants
good
you to
and
be
what is
better
not
than
good.
that.
Yeah, she want yeah.
So, Ben, any questions for Gray or Will on this? Remember, Will, his character's now is 14. Gray is 5. Any questions for either one?
Were you still living in some kind of opulence at this time? And were there things happening in the background that you might not have been immediately aware of that might signal that this was coming to an end?
No, not at this point. My father is still not rich, but we have still have money. My father has 3 ships. He's traveling a lot, even to Japan and everything. So yeah, he's traveling a lot, and money's still coming in, so that's not a problem at home.
So then, did your father ever react to what happened, or was he away and never find out about it?
He was away. He was away a lot.
Going back to the bullies, did you ever build a bridge between you and them, or was it always animosity between you and that group?
No, we managed to break the ice and to find. We managed to get to be friends, actually.
That's a good one. It shows you're a bit of a diplomat there, or at least willing to negotiate and, not allow first impressions to influence how you react in the future. That's a good one. Okay. Any other questions from each other for it, or are we going to jump ahead to another year?
What was the question?
You got one, Gray, for Will's character?
Yeah, I've got one. Are you looking for a home, or is this your way of life? To never stay at one point and every time change place?
I think it has become the norm for me to just keep moving. So I don't think I will find any semblance of normalcy or static until the war starts. I think I'm always going to be moving around, trying to find where I fit.
Always looking to fit, where to fit, huh? That's good to know.
Oh.
Or anywhere you found just doesn't feel right yet. So we're going to jump. By the way, I'm just going to point out, Ben, by yours being so much later than everybody else, you're really in for the questions because it's going to be all focused on you at that point. And I speak from experience when we've had this happen. Yeah, you're going to get both barrels.
I'm chilling out. I'm watching the process. I'm perfectly happy as a spectator for right now.
Listen, my first question is going to be, what are your top 5 bands of the 80s? Like, you better start thinking.
Well, I could tell you what my parents liked. I didn't really start appreciating music until the 90s.
Yeah. Okay, well then let's jump to 1899. Ravenous Archon, your character's 18. Gray, yours is 9. Who wants to go first and give me any updates to the family?
Yeah, go on, Will.
Okay. I was gonna say mine might be a little bit longer because at this point I think I have found a small gang to be a part of. They call me the Quiet Giant. I think I'm become a little bit of a bruiser. Kind of using my size to my advantage.
So that leads to an interesting question. You're 18, so now you've pretty much developed your physical side. Let's talk about that. So you've already established you're strong. You're kind of a big guy. Are you much of a charismatic or a negotiator or a talker, or are you more of a swinger and fighter?
I think I'm definitely a Silent Bob character where if I have to talk, I will say something poignant and respectful and very grounded and concrete in the situation that's happening, but I try not to do the talking.
Okay. And what about when we start talking about your intellectual area? You're not book smart because you've lived a street life, so you're more living with street, so more wits focused than something like intelligence, which is good to know.
Yeah.
There's a good one. Ivy Raven asks, can you read?
Yes.
Yeah, you'd learned early. Are you good at reading now?
No.
Did you learn any new languages from your trip? Because you started in Russia, then Prussia, then French, now in England. I mean, which languages do you speak?
I think for the lack of intelligence that the character has, as far as book intelligence goes, like he has a love of languages and he's definitely become a kind of polyglot. Like he speaks Russian, he speaks
you're
French.
Quick at picking up languages. You may not have a lot of book smarts, but you're actually quick at picking up languages. That's actually an important one to know. So let's get Gray's out of the way, and then we can jump back between both of you for questions. Let's find out what happened with Gray. Gray, you're 9, and any changes to the home solution yet?
Yeah, lots. Actually, my mom died when I was 7 because of a big flu, and I think it may be the way that not another country, another site. I think she was not really, really happy, but she never showed. And she died. My father is getting married.
Remarried? Wow.
remarried around my 9. So there is a new mom coming in, and she is pregnant.
Oh, well, already, huh?
Mm.
How long after your mom died did you hear about this other woman? Maybe not getting married yet, but how long after she had died before, let's just say he was replacing her in his bed?
I hear about her the day she arrived at home.
Okay. Now, I did like a question I saw earlier from Ivy Raven. You catch one of the hired help stealing silverware? How does it make
Uh,
you feel, and what do you do? How do you react to that?
I think I'm a little feel betrayed because they are part of the family. But because they are part of the family, I think he have a good reason. So I will try to know the reason about it.
And what did you find out for the reason?
Actually, I learned that he was not paid enough for what he was doing, and I let him keep the silver.
Now, see, that's an interesting one. Shows that, you do actually consider your help as family in a lot of ways. That's actually pretty good. I like that. Also
My
shows a
father,
bit of your character.
my father is not.
Well, did he find out?
No, he never. I hate it.
You never told him. So how
No.
do you feel about your father?
I don't hate him because he's my father, but I don't like him either. He's never around. I can't have real love for him. He stays my father, so I respect him, but I don't have real love for him.
I like that. So first we'll let Ben or Will ask questions, or Gray ask questions for each other. Go ahead. I'm going to make a note to somebody in Twitch chat real quick.
After your mother passed, did you move or did you stay in the same house?
I stayed in the same house.
How did that make you feel then when this new woman came in and changed things around?
I'm not happy. Yeah, I'm not.
Around?
Yeah, she did.
Okay.
She's kind with me, but I feel there is a wall, and I feel she wants to replace, the spirit from my mom at home. I managed to keep her room and to have the room for myself. But everything else is changing. The way the staff is treated is changing as well.
Does she treat the staff differently than your mother did?
Yeah, a lot. They are not a part of the family. They are just staff, She's not. She's kind with them as well, or she shows kindness to them, but they are the staff, nothing else.
Speaking of the spirit of the house, are you religious?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And is it the same religion that this new stepmother is coming into, or is she a different denomination?
Different.
Oh.
We don't hear you, Benjamin.
That's because I'm muted, as per usual, when I'm trying to speak.
He's amazing
on the
at
stream.
mute.
He's good for
I'm
one.
so good. One for one. So who was there for you when your mom died? Who were the people that helped you to get through it?
The staff. The staff of the house. My nanny was there for me, and the housekeeper as well. He took
no
over.
Family.
No family. He took over my education, so he's taking care of me learning to read, learning the books, learning some history. I'm really into history, and he's learning me a lot about it.
So no family. Were there no friends either? And the only positive sense of community you have coming from the servants, or is it somebody else?
I've got friends, the four bullies that treat me not really nicely. like I said, they became my friends. And once the stepmom came home, I was not really much at home myself. So I was really more on the streets.
So with these friends, how do they feel about the difference in financial situation? Because they weren't well off, but you are. Does that even factor in, or is it they don't care?
They don't care. There is, sometimes there is, they don't feel at ease because I have the money, they don't. But they don't ask for the money as well. A sort of respect came to it. But they know when they need something, without asking, I will be able to give them.
So
if I'm able to.
Do you slip them food from time to time? Because one of the biggest concerns of anyone without a lot of financial means. Do you ever let anyone in the family know? Does the help know you're doing it?
Yeah, they give me. I'm a sweet tooth, and they know it. So I'm giving what I need.
So you've enlisted the help to help you with this, but not told your father or your soon-to-be stepmother. Interesting. I like that. That's a good one. Couch Coward asked, "Where's your mom buried, Gray?"
She's buried in a cemetery in New Orleans.
See, that's a good thing to note. Because if, say, your character was going to end up in a chronicle set in New Orleans, knowing where she was buried would add, depth to the story in a lot of ways. Though I could tell you, New Orleans cemetery is rather haunted and it can be dangerous. Just saying. So I want to ask something that we touched on with, we know that Gray's character likes history. What does yours like, Will? You said you're good with linguistics, but I don't think that's what you're good at. What are you good at?
I don't think I've found anything that I am good at so far. I think I have base knowledge of different things, like the whole knot work, the whole dealing with the sea, kind of growing up with animals, dealing with farmyard and equipment, and now dealing with the streets and kind of picking up the different vibes and knowing when a crowd is going to go one way, knowing what signs to look for when you think police might be after you. I don't think he's actually found the one good thing he's comfortable with.
So you're 18. Anything odd happened to you? You ever see anything out of the corner of your eye that's not actually there when you look? You ever feel like you've been stalked by somebody, or do you feel like there's somebody watching you? Do you get those hairs in the back of your neck sometimes when you're alone or think you're alone?
Occasionally, yeah. There's definitely been some walks home from a tavern or two where it feels like I'm being followed by a police officer, but there's never any Bobby there.
Okay, well, looking at your clan choices, I do have another question for you on this kind of thing. One night, you're coming back, it's dark, you're heading to your house, and you come upon two guys rolling a drunk. What specific year? We're in 1999 at the moment, or 1899, but you find two guys rolling a drunk. What do you do?
It's none of my concern, but if they're really drunk, I will try to de-escalate the situation. And when I say de-escalate, I mean I'm going to go over there and try to fleece them. I'm going to help them up, try to get them to stop fighting, but at the same time, I'm going to take everything that I can that isn't bolted down or sewn to their bodies.
So if the two guys that are doing the rolling, they see you come over, now, of course, you're a big dude. We've established that. So they're kind of intimidated, but they don't want to break back down at first. How do you resolve it? Do you just make them back down, or do you try to talk them out of it?
I will try to play the charismatic card and I'll kind of like reach my hand out to put it on one of their shoulders, and at the same time, I'll just sucker punch the other one right in the throat.
So how did that end up? Because it's your story. How did that play out?
I think one of them got one good lick in, but otherwise they were both tossed around.
Yep. So we've established you're not just big; you definitely are a scrapper.
Yeah. And then because of the scrap, I definitely would have let them see that I've taken their things as a kind of trophy.
Did you take also the drunk guy stuff, or do you leave that behind after you took the other two guys?
Everybody's.
Everybody's. You took it all. That's interesting to see.
Yeah.
Wow. Any other questions from anybody? Table or chat? We can add questions. Otherwise, we're going to skip ahead just a few years because as people start to get older, we do less jumps, especially as we're getting closer and closer to Embrace Year, so that we can establish more things that happened leading up to Embrace. And it's funny because both Gray and Ravenous Archon picked about the same approximate Embrace Year, which is interesting. And I know there's a lag in chat, so I'm going to give chat just a few more seconds, of course. But otherwise, we will move ahead because the next year is actually just going to be 1903, which, puts them not much older. It put Gray at 13 and Ravenous Archon at 22. Let's see. Gray, do you have any crushes or interest in others? That's a good one. You have any crushes or, interest in the same sex or opposite sex? Doesn't really matter. Either one.
Yeah, we are a little later. So at this moment, I start to like, but a lot changed as well for me. So I'm not in New Orleans anymore at this period.
We're still going on 1999. We'll come back to 1903. So anything around 1999?
No, not yet.
1899. Sorry.
Yeah, girls are disgusting. So sorry. No, I can't look at them. It's not possible.
Yep. And Gray at 9 probably wouldn't care about the turn of the century, but Ravenous Archon's character might. Did you care that you're about to be, 1900, a big century change?
I think there was some kind of trepidation, some excitement, some anxiety about the whole situation, especially if it's still 1899. So I think I might have some ladies on the line that I'm trying to figure out what to do with myself, what to do with them.
So how many of them do you think are with you because of you, and how many do you think are with you because they think you're protection?
I think out of the 3, 1 is really with me, to be with me. The other 2 just come with the perks of being in this gang.
And, attach yourself to the biggest bully, and that way the other bullies know not to mess with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. That actually is interesting to find out. But yeah, now we'll jump to 1903. Let's do that. So Ravenous Archon, your character's 22. Gray's is 13. Now, Gray, we're going to go to you. You've already said you're not in New Orleans anymore.
Nope.
Where are you at now?
In Japan.
In Japan?
Yeah.
Is your whole family there or just you?
Just me. I've been sent away.
Oh, who sent you away?
My father, but for him it was by interest, but I was really sent away by my stepmom.
So how do you feel about her?
I don't care. I'm sad at first because I lost a part of my family, but the housekeeper is with me in Japan.
Okay. Now here's a real question on this one. Did you and your stepmom get along, or was the reason you were sent away because you didn't get along?
It was not. I think we didn't have a chance to know each other. I was too much like my mother, and I think that was a problem for her. And I was I was still the shadow of my mom, and I think that's why she wanted to send me away. She didn't planned to send me away to Japan, but at this period there was an exchange between Japan and other countries to Japan was really interested to know about other countries and about other civilizations. So they made some exchanges with people, and that's why I was sent to a family in Japan.
Okay. So here's a good one from the Ivy Raven. How do you feel about family now, about family as a whole, now that your dad has turned you away for his new bride?
I decided to make my own family. My family is the family of my heart, not the family of my blood.
Family's what you make it instead of who you're born to. That's actually a good thing to talk about shaping your character. That actually shows a lot about how your character thinks. We'll come back to you in a second. Let's get some info from Will. You're 22 now. You still in England?
Still, I think this is where I try to really find where the foundation of who I am is supposed to be.
Any luck?
I have some building stones, but I haven't been able to place them where they belong.
You still
keep toppling.
Still running crime?
No, I think at this point, one of the three that I was with has tried to make an honest man out of me, so I'm trying that out.
So someone had one, about you that while you were doing your crime, did you ever think about your mom? Did you ever think she would be ashamed of, when she found out what you'd become? Do you even care what she would have thought about what you'd become?
I think deep down I would have cared what she thought, but I also would have not, because I was surviving. And if I learned anything from either of them, it's that survival comes first.
So how did your gang take you trying to go legit, as they say?
Not well. I had to break a few bones to get the message across.
So what are you doing to make your ends meet?
I'm on the opposite end of the law now, so I'm trying to become a police officer.
Oh. That's an interesting angle to do with it. Let's see here. Did the correlation of your mom doing whatever she had to survive and you doing the same ever dawn on you? That you both were just trying to do what you had to survive, but in different ways. I like that from Bardic Sway.
Yeah, I think at this point it hasn't. I think it will, but not here.
Okay, so you haven't had that self-realization yet. Maddox wants to know, did you miss the farm work? Do you miss the animals on the farm?
Oh, every day. Every time that I would see an animal on the street, I would stop to pet it. Cat, dog, anything that would come up to me. And most of the time they would.
Okay. It's good to know. Gray, you're 13 now. You still into history? That's still your thing?
Yeah, even more now that I'm in Japan, because I learned about new culture, and it's not really easy to live there because I'm the outsider, I have to. I'm a little protected by the family. I see that, but I see with all the children, I have to fight every day. Not really fight, but I've got to fight every day to be part of it. And every day I've got a little rejected. It takes a while for them to open up. So I'm learning more and more about history, because that's a little my refuge.
Take solace in the history books. Okay, that's good to know on that. Real quick for you, Will, there was a question from Timber Brad. 1903 is when the Wright brothers did their first airplane. How did you react to that?
I think for me at the time, it must have been frightening, because that would have definitely have made the world a smaller place.
And Gray, you're 13. The question would actually go to you as well, wouldn't it? The first flight.
I think it's exciting, because it's something really new. with the hope that it brings us further, with the idea that ships have brought us to the other side of the world. What can planes do now that they exist?
It's good to know on that one too. Is Japanese a difficult language for you to learn?
At first, yes, because the hiragana, the writings of Japanese are really difficult. So, and 3 years was not enough to know the language by heart.
Okay. Mickey Bear wants to know, for both of you, where are you specifically? Are you in the country? Are you in the city? Industrial parts of a city, commercial parts of a city? Where are you're growing up in right now? So for like Ravenous Archon, are you in a city, or are you actually more? I mean, I guess if you were running with gangs, you'd have to have been in a city of some time. But was it a mining town, a commercial town like London, or something like that?
I think I would have started off in London for a bit, and then finally found not a big city, but somewhere like a mid-grade city, mid-tier, to just kind of be, if not one of the top dogs, like definitely in the top 10 kind of like movers and shakers.
Up and coming city, one that has potential to be bigger. So
Yeah.
what about you, Gray? Where are you? Were you in a city, or are you more out in the rural areas?
We moved to different places. So we are in Tokyo for the most.
If that's the most part, that's a lot of city.
Yeah, and but the family I'm with have an estate in Okinawa.
No, I've been to Okinawa. Really pretty place, actually.
Mhm.
Only got to be there briefly, though. So that's good to see on those two. So, Ben, you got any questions for either one? Since you're sitting there so quietly, because you're muted.
I'm being patient, and I'm using the mute button for what it is supposed to be used for a change. So now you're in your teens, and you're in this faraway place. You're in Japan. Have you started to hit that stage where you notice people romantically or physically? And if so, who is it?
I've started to be attracted to women, but because I'm the outsider, I don't dare to make a step. It's like, but I've started to the daughter of the family I'm living it is quite pleasant for the eye.
And do you notice that you're an outsider who's there and mostly tolerated because they have money? Your affluence is providing a chance for them to study you and you to be studied in turn. With a country where outward appearances and politeness are so ingrained, how do they still make you feel like an outsider? What is it about the way that you're being treated that makes you feel like you're an outsider?
It's not really the family. I mean, the family are trying to learn me about the honor. Honor is really important for them, and they try to learn me about it. I'm even learning Bushido with them because it's really a part of their life. It's really a part of their when you learn something, it's really part of the school, actually, in even more in Okinawa. And so I'm learning a lot about that, but it's not really in the family. It's more the other children's, they are not part of the family,
Because of the Bushido and your love of history, how do you think that he's taking to this phasing out of the samurai caste? How is the Meiji Restoration kind of sinking in with him and what his father does for a living?
more and more I start to like I said in the beginning, I don't have really love for my father, but I still got respect, and this respect is staying because of the Bushido, because you have to honor your ancestors, you have to honor your father, because what he's doing is really important for your family, and that's a way of respect. I don't have love for him, but my respect is even if for me, if he sent me here in Japan, there is a reason. Not only he didn't want to send me away just for my stepmom. I think he sent me away because he wanted me to learn something.
So that actually ties into a question that Meg AC had for you. Do you have any interest in your father's business?
Not yet. And I don't think I will, actually.
I got a question that came up from Yuri in there, Ravenous Archon. During your criming time, were there any victims you think may have laid long-term plans to get revenge? Did you end up coming out of that with some enemies that won't let shit go?
Probably. I probably have at least one that has become something that could ruin any chance of me going far in the police force.
Wow. Is it somebody you robbed, or is it somebody you did something worse to?
I think it's something worse.
Okay.
I think definitely a message was sent, and now in the time it was something that I don't think would have ever come back to hurt me in any way, shape, or form. But now, taking the route that I've taken, I think it is much more prevalent.
Okay. So any other questions from each other? You can go ahead. I'm gonna let y'all, bang questions. Remember, we're currently at 22 for Ravenous Archon's character and 13 for Grace. Any other questions?
Any children or ones that you do or don't know about at 22?
There might be one or two that I don't know about with some ladies, but the one that I'm currently with is we're having trouble on that front.
Mickey Bear wants to know: are you planning to be? You're trying to get in law enforcement. You're not there yet, but is your plan to be preventative or reactive as a law enforcement agent? Are you trying to stop crime, or just try to make sure crimes are dealt with after they're found?
It is right now. It is 100% reactive. There's no crime fighting bone in my body.
I think we've got quite a bit on that. I've got a lot of notes from this one. So we're going to jump to 1908. Ravenous Archon, your character's 27. Gray, the reason we chose 1908 is it makes you 18. The big 1-8.
Yeah.
So there's one for both players. It's a good one right now from Maddox. Any tattoos? Because while tattoos are generally taboo in the Japanese culture for a certain subset of people, there's also a subset of people that they are 100% required, actually.
No tattoos.
I have two. I have one that is the symbol of the gang, which in my mind is something like a broken curved trident with rose vines, the thorns prominently displayed, and just a single rose bloom in the center.
Okay, so are you still in Tokyo or in Japan, Gray? At 18?
Yeah. Yes. Normally, I'm still in Japan, and but I plan to move because my father disappeared.
Your father disappears?
Yeah.
Now, does that happen in a later year?
Yeah. In the later year.
We're coming to that one in a later year then. Just so we know, what year did he disappear?
The same year, but yeah, around between my 18 and 19.
Okay. So it's right around this time. Then we can cover some of that as well. What about you, Ravenous Archon? Are you still in England, or have you moved somewhere else? And how's it going with your trying to make an honest man of you?
By this point, I have become one of the street constables. I have a small house that I have actually been able to buy to kind of set myself up with my lady, and we are currently still trying for our first child.
Okay. So, Gray, I know you had said that you had an interest in the daughter of the people you were staying with. Did she ever return that interest in you?
She did.
I assume her parents did not approve, though.
They didn't know.
They didn't know. Interesting. What happened with that?
I promised I will be back in Japan, but not knowing when.
That's an interesting one to know. So let's see. We're 27 and 18. Anything unusual go on in your life, Gray? Anything hard to explain that you can't explain?
No, I feel observed. Somebody's watching me, but I can't really I can't know. I don't know what it is.
Okay. How do you feel about animals?
I really like them, but I'm not. I like them because I like the free animals because for me it's a little like freedom, they know what they want, they are free, they can live a free life, and I feel a little attached to my story, to my household.
Do you feel like you're trapped and you're like a caged animal sometimes?
Sometimes yes, because I can't make my own decisions.
It's good to know. Let's see. I want to go back to Will real quick. I got a question for you on this one. So you're a constable now. Come across one night, and you find a kid that's a pickpocket. Caught him. But turns out they may be a pickpocket, but it's because it's the only way they can put food on the table. Their father was hurt working in a factory, and their mother has to spend all their time taking care of him. So the only way they can eat is through whatever he can beg, borrow, or steal off the street. What do you do?
I think if I caught him in the act, I will make a big show of having caught him, draw attention to the technique he was using, given that it's probably one of my own techniques. And then as I hand the item in question or the money in question back, I'll make sure that at least one of the bills is missing. And then as I take him away, I'll give him a stern talking to, but kind of pocket the money that I took into his pocket.
Okay, that's good to know that. That's actually an interesting angle for that. I do like there's two variations of the same question, Maddox and Bardic's Way, for both of you. What does leisure look like? What do you do when you have free time? I like that one. That stumped both of y'all for a second there. You got to think about that.
I know I wanted Will to speak first, but I can, if you like to like this, you can think about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Leisure for me is actually I'm full into Bushido. For me, it's like sword jousting is really important for me, like the art of it, like calligraphy as well. But also the history of Bushido is really interesting for me. And when I'm not in the dojo, I'm walking around in the nature.
So you do the full Bushido, not just the combat side, but the to be a proper Bushido warrior, you must also know art.
Yeah,
You
indeed.
have to create to go with the destruction.
I play music. I play music. I do the calligraphy. So I'm trying to be fully educated. It's my way to acknowledge and to I want to thank the family I'm in to take me in their family. It's my way to respect them, to learn everything about that they are learning.
So your time there in Japan has really made you focus on family, not necessarily family by blood, but whoever you've claimed as family.
Indeed, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what about you? What do you do for your leisure there, Ravnos Archon?
I'm gonna take a page out of Gray's book there, and I think that because of my wife, I have been forced to pick up an instrument, and so I think that I would have started learning how to play the piano. I see her as a singer, and I think that doing something to kind of be around her more often, to take care of her, I think it's become a big thing for me. And so I think there's one room where there's just this upright piano, and anytime that I do have leisurely time, I'm just sitting there trying to figure out how to read music.
Okay. Mickey Bear wanted to know the name of your sensei. We don't need that one, but I do have another one for that though. How hard was it for you as an outsider to find a sensei willing to teach you the art of Bushido? Because you're an outsider. You're not one of them.
At first, to find a sensei was easy because of the connection, but to be accepted by the sensei was really hard. So I was there before everybody. I left after everybody left. And I was trying to work as hard, or even not harder than everyone else, until he acknowledged me.
That's actually good to know. Going back to you real quick, Will, you still, you grew up with the animals on the farm. You still big on the animals?
Yes, we have 2 cats because my wife is allergic to dogs, unfortunately.
Ben, got any questions for him before I open up even more of the Twitch chats and each other's questions?
I'll ask this for both of them. Up to now, what was the best moment of your life from your perspective? What was the time you were happiest?
Like that one.
Or you want to go first?
Yeah, well, I think that I was acknowledged in the school, in my school of Bushido. I think that was my most favorite. It was really the best day since I arrived in Japan.
I think for me, it was the reveal of the house to my wife. I think because I'm the kind of character that would have tied that together to the proposal. I think the two came hand in hand, and I believe that it was definitely a house that she might have picked out for herself. Like she always made mention of it on our walks of wanting to own a house like it. And I think the big thing was me kind of asking around for some extra money from some of the other higher ups, the detectives and things like that that I kind of befriended, that helped me get the house and the kind of ring.
Mickey Bear wants to know, is there a go-to weapon you use as an O-ship measure?
My fists are my go-to weapons. I don't think I'm I don't think I'm a weapons guy. I don't think that I like the idea of knifing somebody or breaking a cue stick over somebody's face. I think there's something more personal about putting your fist in somebody's jaw.
Any other questions? Chat each other. Will, you got one for Gray? Gray, you got one for Will?
Not for the moment.
How much of Japan have you seen?
Not much.
Okay.
I'm staying more around Okinawa and Tokyo. This is already something big because there are not many people who are moving with the season actually. So this is already something big. So I'm not seeing more than that. I think I've been once or twice to Osaka, but that's the most part of it.
Bardic Sway wants to know, how do you feel about fashion and hygiene? I guess that would go for both of you.
I'm not fashionable. And
You said that so glumly.
Yeah. I'm a cop, dude. I don't have a sense of fashion. I'm all about practicality. If it's cold, I put something warm on. If it's hot, I take something something warm off. But I think hygiene might be a big thing for him. The more he sees and the more he remembers where he comes from, like, I think hygiene is his way of splurging.
Okay. What about you, Gray, for yours?
I'm not. I'm using the fashion of Japan because I don't want to be too much of an outsider. But there is something I still have from my mom. I liked my clothes to be neat.
So you're big on looking proper. You don't want to look outside of, you don't want to be a bigger outsider, but you want to make sure that everything's neat and everything's in order,
Yeah.
but still fit.
I don't have nothing to be messy or everything because I go to the nature and everything. But when I'm back, I like to be neat like this. They see that I'm proper.
Okay. Couch Coward says, what's the worst day of your life for both of you? What was the worst day?
Yeah, the death of my mom was something really difficult. But the death of the housekeeper in Japan was even more, because I even couldn't bury him because he has to go back to his own country to be buried there.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. About you? Worst day there, Ravenous Archon?
It's easy to say the day that I found out my father died. It's easy to say the day that I left my mother behind. But I think for him, it has been the first miscarriage, the first time that he learned that he wasn't going to be a father.
That's pretty rough. Urian has a question for you, Gray, kind of in the same area as Ravnos Archon's question. I'm going to paraphrase it. How did your sparring partners in the dojo feel about you being allowed to learn Bushido? Did they feel that you shouldn't be allowed because you're not one of them?
I think there are still a few, even before the moment I left, there are still wouldn't accept me because they are really, some people in Japan are really like tradition has to be followed by Japanese only. But I think a few of them started to respect me because of my hard working.
You're trying to earn their respect from it. Mickey Bear wants to know, how do you feel when your sensei presents you with a gift, Gray?
I'm really surprised as first because I'm an outsider and everything, but it's really if he give me a gift is because he really accepted me, so it's really the acceptance is more welcoming than the gift.
So the gift's not important, it's the fact that he cared enough or felt you earned some sort of reward. I like that. That's good to show. Maddox wants to know for you, Ravenous Archon, you get home from a stressful night as a constable. Your wife brings up there's financial issues. It's hard living, money's tight even then. How do you react?
The initial reaction is for me to walk away. Especially at this point, I know that I'm trying my best to kind of make ends meet, make things matter. And so if that's the first thing that comes at me when I come home, I definitely will leave. I will walk out, walk around the neighborhood a few times to breathe, and then come back when I've cleared my head.
So constables get a reputation on the street. What's your reputation? Harsh but fair? Are you bribable? Are you considered a dirty constable? Where do you stand on that pecking order?
If the money's right, there is an easy way to just close my eyes to certain things.
Is there a line you won't cross?
Yes. I think at this point, no any harm that befalls a woman or a child is definitely a crime that cannot be paid off.
Okay. Ben, you got any more questions for him, or are we ready to skip to the next one? Because we've got a lot on this one. We're only going to jump up to 1912 now. We're 3 years out from Embrace. 31 years old for Ravenous Archon, 22 for Gray. Now, Gray, you said in the intervening time, your father disappeared?
Yeah.
So in that intervening, you've already left Tokyo at this point because your father disappeared?
Yeah, I had to go back to New Orleans to they want me to take over my father's business, but I'm not really into it. So my father has associates, and I'll leave the work to them.
So on this one about, give me some details about disappear. Did he just mysteriously disappear? Ship go down? Was he on a ship that sank? How did he disappear?
We don't know. He was actually in France, and he disappeared. So he left the boat, and he never came back.
Right around 1912. Did he know somebody named Jacqueline Durant? Oh, sorry, Colette. I'm just had to throw that in there. Just curious. So we've established you've come back. How do you feel about having to come back? I mean, you didn't want to take over the business and all. Are you resentful that you had to leave Tokyo to do it because you feel, an obligation to do it?
Yeah. I'm really not happy to be back. My plans are to go back to Tokyo as soon as possible. But I have to be there to sign some papers to be there. Even if I let the associates of my father taking over, I still need to be there to sign some papers because I'm the heir.
So how did the daughter of the people you were living with take it that you had to leave?
Yeah, really bad. She was not happy, but she was promised to someone else, actually.
That's normal because they didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Was she hoping you would take her with you?
She wanted me to take her with me, but it will be a dishonor to the family. And she wouldn't do it, and I wouldn't do it because this family took me in and treated me not like their son, but they took me in and treated me like family. So I couldn't do that to them.
Okay. Yep, that shows you the family is still very, very, very important to you, which is good to know, and the honor of everything. Let's talk. Let's get with wow. Maddox wants to know. Let's go back to Gray real quick. Is she pregnant with your child or someone else, or was she not pregnant at all?
She's not pregnant at all.
Okay.
There are some lines who I didn't want to cross.
Okay. Good to know. And Mickey Bear wanted to know the mood in Paris. Since Mickey, he wasn't in Paris. His father wasn't disappeared. so he wouldn't have to deal with the stress of that one. Let's find out about Ravnos. Ravnos, you're 31.
Yep.
Still in a up and coming building city. It's growing.
No, at this point, I've moved back to the original city that I was part of a gang in. My wife has passed away trying to give birth to our first child. Mother and child both did not make it.
How did that affect you?
That proved to me that going straight was probably the worst mistake of my life. And so I've gone back to try and play both sides down the middle.
How's your gang taking you coming back?
Considering that I am now an informant from the police's side of things, yeah, I'm a valuable asset.
So you're staying as a constable, but you're using your constable to help them.
Yep.
I like that.
Yep.
That's a good one to do. I'm gonna open up because we're getting close here. I want to open up to each other, and of course, give Chad a time to come up with questions. Ben, Will, Gray, ask questions for each other.
Yeah, I've got a question for Raft. Your mother, is she still alive? Do you still have contact with her?
I have not, ever since I've left, I've not made any attempts to reach out to her.
Because you were ashamed, or because other reasons?
That was just a different part of my life.
Okay.
Now,
That's become a different chapter.
Here's an interesting question. Going back to both of your histories, what is the chance that the woman that Gray's father remarried after his Gray's mother died? What is the chance that that was your mother?
Oh.
Backstory tie-in. That's what these are great for, by the way.
Yeah. Could be a thing.
Could be.
Was I already gone?
Yes.
At that point?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. You were 18 when his mother was getting remarried. Actually, 16 was the year that his mother. You were 16 when his mother died, and the new woman would have been brought. So yes, you were already gone.
Left. Yeah.
So he's got a Russian stepmom. I'm there for it.
I mean,
Totally there for it.
It does allow for a
explains
tie-in.
different denomination. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never asked from where she was from, so.
Yeah. So that's something to think of, when it comes to laying out story for Kindred later on, if, in a game, that tie-in is something y'all could bring back too, which is why I love doing these as a group. Because if you do these individual, you don't get these chances to point out these kind of things. I think that would be an interesting combination in terms of story for sure.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Questions?
Still muted.
Ben is muted.
Yep.
King
Good
of
for
mute.
one.
His mute game is on
swearing,
point. His unmute game is not.
I was swearing profusely on mute. So this is for Gray. So you've hardcore thrown yourself into this other culture, and now that you've gone back, what has the reassimilation been like, and how have people, especially in your social circle, reacted to the fact that you're now, one could say, almost turning your back on how you're supposed to be acting and how you're supposed to socially present yourself given your pedigree?
I was an outsider in Japan, and I'm now an outsider back at home. That's why the associates don't really want me to take over. They are good with the fact that I only sign papers because I'm a stranger. Really, I don't belong there.
So your stepmom, she's still alive after your father went missing. How did she feel about you coming back?
She doesn't know how to act with me because
Relin points out also your sibling, because your mom was pregnant.
Indeed, yeah.
Yes. So I'm sorry, I'm corrected. I thought neither one of you had siblings, but I was thinking about earlier. So you've got wow, hang on. That puts them at the age of them is, let me look back here. It would have been 9. So your sibling is 13. Was it a boy
Indeed.
or a girl?
A girl.
Okay. So how did she take it?
Yeah, I'm a total stranger, but she's she want to know more about me because I'm something strange for her. I'm something from another world for her, you know. So she's actually she's not close to some to know me more.
See, that's a good one. Questions? Oh, Bardic Sway has a good one. Is there any notion of you writing your stepmother out of the finances if she doesn't respect and honor your new position? So if she won't show you the honor that you feel, because honor is important, you deserve, are you willing to cut her off financially for it?
I won't. She's the
Matriarch?
yeah, she's the matriarch. She's the new wife of my father, and like yeah, honor is really important for me, and I will not cut her financial. And that's one of the first. That's the thing. I think that is one of the first real talk we're going to have, her and me, when I came back. Because I'm back, I'm a little stranger for her, and yeah, she's afraid, and this is something I'm going to point out really quick to be to make her sure. I'm not going to put her out of the house. She's part of the family, and she will stay as long as she is. She will stay. Point.
That's actually, I like that. So I'm looking here at what's going on. I want to bring up one with Ravnos Archon. Given the period of time where you're at, looking at the timing of it, there's a couple press gangs coming through looking for, some new sailors while you're doing your constable work. And actually, you see them targeting a couple of your gang members. It's a big group of sailors, though. What do you do?
I've got a billy stick now, so I think we're going to put that to good use, and I'm going to make sure that my friends are protected.
What happens from that? How does that end up? Because, I mean, it's a big group of sailors, but normally press gangs were drunk anyway.
Yeah. I think there's a casualty on both sides, and it's probably somebody that was close to me. And it starts to cement the idea that maybe I've never found a spot because I don't belong anywhere.
While this happens, you caught a shadowy shape watching you from an alleyway while this occurred. They were hanging back a bit, but you could see them. But then after the fight, when you went to investigate, to go see, you got to watch witnesses anyway. This person, when you get to the alley, you can't find them, though you did catch a brief glimpse of something shooting up the wall before you got to him.
Is there like a fire escape?
Nope. You don't know if they jumped, climbed, or whatever, but straight up the wall, just a brief black shadow before you got fully in the alley.
Could have been some cat.
How did that make you just write it off as, seeing things?
I have to. Yeah, there's no way a human being can make that kind of climb with no assistance.
Do you tell anybody?
No.
No? Okay.
Or am I going to make myself look crazy?
Well, I mean, there is that. Gray, while you're in New Orleans at this time, you're signing over the business. One night, somebody who says they had dealings with your father calls on you. It's late at night, but somebody you recognize, you've seen them in the past, at night, of course, never in the daytime, but they actually come to you and want to affirm that certain arrangements they had with your father are going to be kept. And one in particular is, from time to time, a certain cargo they want to have shipped either from the New World, America, over to Europe, or from Europe back to the New World. No questions asked, no customs, and with some very strict requirements on crew type and available stocks and everything else. Are you willing? Do you affirm that you're going to continue your father's deal?
Yeah, I will, but I will investigate a little more about that.
It's gone on quite a while. From what you can investigate, you find that, the odd thing is, every time this shipment has occurred, there's been a bit of the ship has ended up with some sickness on it. Sometimes sailors died, but normally sailors just end up all sick.
All right.
But they pay well, very well.
I don't care. I will stop this negotiation.
So you're going to break your father's arrangement because that was your father's, not yours.
Yeah, indeed. And if I see that it puts some people in danger, maybe only sickness, but it's still sickness can be dangerous. I know about it. My mother died from a sickness, so sickness can be dangerous, and I don't want to put people. I don't want to put people in harm.
And sailors are superstitious lot. So with that many sickness and things running rampant, it gets harder and harder to find crews for the ships.
Indeed.
Because they don't want to do that. Yep. Questions? Any other questions? We're getting very close to embrace year for both of them. And I'm seeing patterns are kind of came into effect on both. If not, we're going to move on to a big year.
Does you cutting ties with your father's contract hinder the business in the long run?
Yeah, I had to explain myself with the associates because they were aware of some things, and from their point of view, I didn't have to stop the arrangement. So it hindered, but at this part of the time, I start to negotiate some terms with other countries and with some other products, and manage to put again some money inside their pockets, so that they could leave me alone.
Okay, it's pretty good though. Any other questions? I guess we're going to jump to 1915. Now, of course, 1914, as somebody pointed out in chat, that was a big year. That's where Ferdinand got shot, kicking off World War I. Now, before we go any further in this embrace year, let's talk a bit about the clan choices from each player. So at the beginning, Ravnos Archon had Bruja, Ventru, and Zmici. And Gray had Gangrel, Ventru, and Banu Akim. Now, looking at your life, let's talk about Ravnos Archon. And we'll all talk together. This is, we're a group thing. Of his three clans, which do you think screams out to him? I mean, Ventru, I could see a little bit from a crime lord Ventru's point of view, his willing to make the money, but honestly, I'm seeing more Bruja than anything. His willingness to throw down and fight, his preference to use his hands when he can.
I'm seeing Bruja depending on what happens to him when he goes overseas. Because he said he was throwing himself into the war effort, and I can see someone who's naturally one of his first reactions is violence, and the life he's dealt with, leading up to some pretty interesting actions when he's called to war against enemy soldiers. And based on those behaviors, that might attract someone who is in Europe that may notice something like that and objectively find it appealing, especially given that he is from Eastern Europe initially, and has been kind of tracked the whole life. Bruja would be a great knee-jerk reaction one, and I think given his history, that's actually perfect. But I think that interesting spin to make him, based on what he does, whether his humanity is severely compromised by the things that he does and the things he finds himself enjoying in the front lines, that may color that a little bit. Ventrue doesn't feel right.
No, I don't.
But I would
even
say,
a crime lord Ventrue, he wasn't enough of a hustler to run to negotiate and everything. So I think Ventrue's definitely out.
Yeah, the notes I had for each of the clans were like, the Bruja is low hanging fruit because I'm gonna be rough around the edges and I'm gonna be used to scrapping.
Well, Ivy Raven points out because Bruja fits because you've been looking for a cause your whole life. You've been looking for that thing that would give you that passion to move forward. You've been looking for it. You just haven't found it.
That's really true. That's a really good observation. I am convinced. Bruja.
But finish your notes there, Will.
Yeah. I picked Ventrue because I pictured him being a self-made man, and I would have attracted somebody, especially given the kind of, not scumbagginess, but like the kind of aura that exists for London Ventrue, or English Ventrue rather. And the Samiti is because I'm always looking for more. I was always kind of trying to make a better life for myself. And that kind of hoarding ideal has always been in the back of the character's mind. But yeah, Bruja is, like I said, the one that kind of stuck out the most when I was coming up with a little bit of notes.
And definitely the way you've moved on and always, you are definitely looking for bigger things, but there's a sense in you of, I'm not going to say 100% right and wrong. There is, you have an odd sense of right and wrong, but you do have a sense of right and wrong. You don't, no amount of money will buy you for harm to women, and children, those kind of things. But it's all fair when it comes down to the line of, surviving. So yeah, I don't see the Ventrue would work. Zimichi could possibly, depending on what happens during the war, but generally Kindred, unless it's a quicker embrace without much research, normally a lot of Kindred before embrace, especially at the time, observed their potential child for a while, kept an eye on them to see what they were doing. So I would say Bruja, but depending on the war, we could go Zimichi. Now for Gray, let's talk about his. I don't see Gangrel as much. I honestly, for Gray, I see Banu. You are living a Banu life.
I would say Banu, unless he has finally hit the point where he says, fuck this noise, and just walks away from everything.
A Ventrue would do the deal. A Ventrue, the money wouldn't have cared about how many people were sick. A Ventrue would do the deal. That's a big one.
Yeah, his want of personal freedom, code of ethics, and attraction to wanderlust, says Gangrel. But if he stays on more of a martial path and really embraces, the Bushido aspect, I'd say Banu in that case, but I could easily see Gangrel, given how his character's developing.
Yeah, Gangrel or Banu are the two strongest, but I think there's more Banu right now than Gangrel. He would have attracted a Banu Hakim's notice more than his Gangrel would have attracted any notice based on what he's been doing, especially given his very keen sense of what he feels is right and wrong. The help was not paid enough. They stole, which is wrong, but which is the bigger wrong of the two? The stealing or the fact they're not paid enough? You know? Yeah, that's why Bardic was, Sway was asking about, that's why I was checking the leisure, the fact you were big on history. That also points to me more to Banu because they are a lot of scholars amongst their number. It's actually very important to them as a clan, is knowing, you know, having a basis in learning. So I think, honestly, I think of the two, I think Banu is a bit stronger. Relin says Banu
I
Vizier.
agree. I agree. Banu Vizier makes a lot of sense.
Yep. So, and this is the point where we could go into the actual embrace and the war. But I've actually, originally I would go into the whole embrace thing, but I've actually learned it's best not to go into too much detail on the embrace yet and to allow that to occur later, because in this latest Windy City, I've learned that letting the players do their own embrace. Though, let's find out what clans, Ravnos, what clan eventually embraced you? And if it goes to Michi, you're going to have to, we want to know why.
Right. I think that given that I would have thrown myself at the war to kind of become a kind of death seeker, I think the only one that makes sense is Bruja. Unless there was like some, excuse me, some Ventru in the military ranks, I don't see Zimitzi on the table anymore.
Here's an interesting question. Both of y'all were in the war. I got a question for both of you, which is really funny. Roscoe Akers actually fought in World War I. He was extremely lucky. Bullets, some missed him for the oddest reasons. He made shots that he shouldn't have. He was, for those that know World of Darkness, he was actually beginning his awakening and had learned to twist reality a bit, made his own luck through magic. He hadn't apprenticed yet and hadn't been noticed, but actually he was being watched at this point to see if he was going to actually manifest mage powers. Now chat blows up because of that.
Yeah.
But so when we're talking about storylines, there's another place that these stories could be interwoven. When you're talking about looking at backstories as a group, you can weave this in. All of them at the same time. So Gray, what did you think ended up finally being yours?
I think Banu Hakim is one of the closest. I think is the closest. This most possible choice actually, because of the honor. I think the honor is really important for me. So I think that's a point that's really is important in Banu Hakim as well. So I think that's a clan who will have chosen me.
I agree with that one. I mean, there's a lot of Banu coming off in you, which is great. I love doing that one. So now, at this point, you'd be able to go and create your characters, and you can, if you wish, create them off the standard rules. Both of your ages would mark you as Ancile, so of course you'd be able to create an Ancile character. But now it's time to get the one who's been quiet the whole time. Reverend Ben Powers. Rev Ben Powers, born in 1990.
Yes.
So we're going to start in 1995. Now, you're the sole person under the targets while everyone else beats you with questions. So let's first find out, where were you born? Or where were you in 95, if it's different from being born?
He was born in Livermore Falls, Maine, which is outside of Portland. His parents, Oscar and Allison, she got pregnant with him when she was 14, and her boyfriend was 16. So they had him very, very, very young. And so At the age of 5, Dad is working at a video store. Mom works part-time at the Market Basket, while occasionally, he's left with whatever babysitters, friends of his parents, that will be willing to watch the kid for $20 for a couple hours. They're very poor. They're living in a studio apartment. At the time, living in Maine was pretty cheap in the outer areas, but the minimum wage wasn't super high. He spends a lot of time in front of the television. That's pretty much
Raised by
what
TV.
Yes, it's he's sitting in front of the TV at 5 years old. His parents watch MTV almost exclusively, so he's up past his bedtime because his mom is working. He's supposed to be in bed by 7 o'clock, and it's currently 9 o'clock, and he's watching Headbangers Ball.
So here's a question. PBS or cable? Because if you had MTV, I guess they had to get cable. But if you were poor, was it your cable or did you steal it?
They stole it. His dad had a friend that helped splice it from one of the upstairs neighbors.
Mm-hmm. That's the true question. Any siblings? I mean, that'd be even babies, even less of a baby. That'd be even more babies making babies.
Yeah, no siblings. The closest he has to a brother and sister is Scotty, who's his Snoopy buddy. It's like one of those like kid-size Snoopy dolls that has a Pearl Jam T-shirt that his dad owned that he's currently wearing.
So I have a question for you here. I love this one. This is one of my favorites. You're 5. Somebody, one of your school friends that you thought you were friends, claimed you were best friends, always hung out together. They had a birthday party, but they didn't invite you at all. How did that make you feel? And did you stop being friends with him after that?
He cried a lot. He was very, very affected, very broken up. His mother, though, was quite adamant about, well, if they're willing to do that, they're not your friends anyway. And that's something that really messed with him as a kid because it felt like she was always saying that. And so he felt like he took it really hard because he felt like he didn't have any friends because every time he had a friend and something negative happened, his direction from his mother, who, was around, but not a lot, was that, he didn't need them anyway. So, again, he knew not to take Scotty to school with him because that got him bullied once or twice. So, basically he comes home and, once his parents tell him that he shouldn't worry about it, he cries on the couch and, tells Scotty how he feels.
So how did your grandparents take the fact you were born babies making babies, 15-year-old mom, 16-year-old dad? How did that go over?
So his dad's parents, they looked at their son like he was a fucking idiot. But his mom and dad were young when they had him. So their idea was that, it ruined their life to have him, and how dare he let that happen, by getting someone knocked up. His mother's parents were trying very hard to take an interest in raising, having a life with their grandchild, but she wanted nothing to do with it.
Ivy Raven wants to know if you felt lonely.
Very
being
much
raised
so.
by TV.
He was incredibly lonely if you look at it from an outside perspective. He didn't think he was lonely, but if someone were to watch his behavior, he was very lonely. He'd internalize everything, and then he would sit in front of the TV because,
TV didn't judge.
It didn't. He had music. He loved music. That was the one thing he shared in common with his parents, because they were so young when they had him. A lot of his musical tastes were almost contemporary. So they would watch MTV Buzz, or he'd sneak downstairs at night and watch Headbangers Ball. Occasionally his dad would catch him, but wouldn't send him to bed. But pretty much it was, he tried really hard to make friends at school, but when something would happen, he would immediately pull away. He spent a lot of time sitting by himself, which of course kids are vicious and awful. So they would tease him, they would bully him. And so basically that was pretty much what it was. He came home, he hung out with Scotty, and he watched TV.
Punk's Not Dead wants to know, being in Maine, did either of your parents have issues with substance abuse?
Oh yeah. His dad, at the time his dad was like 16. So when he had him, so he was just turning 20, 21, and his dad was already an alcoholic, just like his dad. His mom smoked, but that was it. She was a pack of Marlboros a day teenager, because by this point she's only 19. But yeah, the dad was a drinker, hadn't moved on to hard drugs or anything.
Now, we're not going to go into big detail on this, but if your dad was an alcoholic, was there any physical abuse? And we're not going to go into detail because that's a trigger point for a lot of people.
There was never any physical abuse. The thing was that when he was being bullied, his dad was always an advocate of defending himself. Okay. And that would be not so much, square up and fight them. His dad and his friends would say stuff like, put a pipe in your sock, and then when they knock you to the ground, hit them with it.
Wow. Okay.
And this is stuff being told to like a 5-year-old.
Yeah. I grew up that way.
Yeah.
Will, you or Gray, questions for him at 5?
You said that you got your cable stolen from an upstairs neighbor. Did you grow up in like a apartment building?
Yeah, it was an apartment complex.
Okay. There were no other children?
The ones that were around, a lot of the same patterns repeated itself. We all hung out together because we were the ones that were there. When your parents tell you to go outside, you play with whoever happens to be around. And even though you're picked on, you're still part of the group. Even if your part of the group is to be picked on. So that was pretty much his upbringing when it came to other kids.
Gray, got any questions?
Yes, no.
Okay. Then, see, we got one that's great. We got one for age 10 because close enough. We're going to jump to 1999, right before the millennium changed. Millennia. Yeah, I can't talk. So you're 9 years old. Let's talk about that. Still in Maine?
Yep. Still living in Livermore Falls.
Your parents still together?
Yes. Though it is very strained, because they were kids when they had him. Now that they're adults who have a kid. And by this point, both families have been kind of estranged. Like the dad's parents are really just off doing their own thing. Mom's parents kind of gave up trying to be in his son's life. And the weird part was she didn't have any real reason for it. Like she didn't have a compelling event that just the second he came along, she was only focused on the home, him maintaining the house. Friendships went away. It was work, the kids, that kind of thing.
So, Ivy Raven wants to know about your parents on this one. Did your parents ever make disparaging remarks about you possibly ruining their life or lives? Because of you, we couldn't do this or that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that was a common fight that they would have. By this point, they've moved on to a 1-bedroom. They've upgraded. And he could hear it while they were in the bedroom. He slept in the living room. He had a little futon that was the couch, and they would make it up for him at night. He would just sleep on the couch. The TV was there, so it was easier. He'd have it on to fall asleep. But he could hear it. He just, he would watch, he watched a lot of ER, and he would also throw himself into other shows. Like he was watching Beavis and Butthead, despite the fact that every parent was told not to let your kids watch it at age 9. He didn't understand most of the jokes, but he thought it was hilarious. And he saw older kids in school, like the middle school kids, all doing pornholio, and he knew what that was. So he thought he was pretty cool.
How are you talking about school? How are you doing in school?
His grades are good. At this point, he's mostly by himself. He's taken to writing a lot. He has a journal. He is always scrawling something. There's a lot of half-finished drawings, but mostly words, whatever he's thinking. He is writing a lot of what now would be, but looking back, would be screenplays or scripts is what he writes most of the time. And it's about, the life that other kids have or that he feels like he should have, but he doesn't.
So writing is your escapism.
Writing and TV when he's not watching TV with Scotty, because Scotty's still around. His father has started calling him, the F word, because he insists on still keeping his doll. But Scotty is still definitely there. He actually hides him under the futon.
Has your Maddox asked, did your confidence build up anymore, or are you still picked on all the time?
He's still picked on, but his confidence is there because he doesn't care. At this point, other kids know him. He's in class. He participates when asked to, but the only time he leaves the house is to go to the library and use the library computer because his family can't afford AOL.
Are you good at computers?
He knows how to use them. He knows how to use the internet. He knows how to use search engines. At age 9, that's pretty good. He can keep pace with the computer teacher at school. He loves computer class because the internet has a lot of really interesting things that he can't see in the confines of his apartment complex.
So you just answered Sway and Megex's question all in one.
He also did a lot of writing in there.
Maddox wants to know if you hear people talking, do you eavesdrop often or only when your parents are arguing in a bedroom?
I mean, he keeps a cursory amount of attention, mostly because he likes to be prepared based on what he's hearing. So if people are talking about how the teacher is, on the way when they're all goofing off, he makes sure that he's got his notebook away. If people are talking about him, he makes sure that he moves himself to a place where he can't hear them, but he's always aware of it. When his parents are fighting, he's learned to just tune it out and focus on what he's doing. His teachers have recommended at this point, even at the age of 9, that his parents get him into counseling, but the mother can't afford it. So he's, still now he's writing and doing TV and Scotty.
So here's a question. I like this one from Timberbread, 1999, Columbine. You're a loner. How did people at school treat you after Columbine happened, with you being a loner and kind of on the outside of everything?
His dad stopped wearing his trench coat. His dad wore a trench coat. And young Jason, character's name is Jason, thought it was really cool. And he was really into the Highlander TV show because it was the 90s and it had swords. And so he always thought that was really, really cool. But he's not, the parents talk more about Columbine and the teachers talk more about Columbine. He's not looked at any differently for it.
Okay. Punk's Not Dead wants to know, did you learn any skills you weren't supposed to know? I like that one. Did you study the Anarch Cookbook? Because in 99, you can find that bitch online easy.
No, he didn't. He mostly used the internet as looking at places he couldn't go, or following, he would look up the shows, and whatnot. It's also where he inadvertently stumbled across, because one of the episodes of Beavis and Butthead that aired in 1997 had them watching medical videos and them being grossed out and thinking it was cool. So he started looking at, medical photos at this time. He doesn't know why he's fascinated by them, because blood is gross, but he finds himself looking at them, and he's starting to maybe think that that's something he might be interested in. Besides, George Clooney on ER is really popular, and he's a doctor, so maybe by becoming a doctor, he'll have friends like George Clooney.
Sway wants to know what your screen name was.
Pale Kid, 1990.
Okay. Ravnos Archon, you or Greg got a question for him?
I've got one. At age of 9, are you already thinking about leaving, or that's not in your mind? For you, Maine is your home, and you want to be better, or just your life as it is now is good?
He doesn't see a world where there's another option, nor does he have a particular need to move. Everything he needs is right here. His parents are here. He has his room. He has his friend is here. And at this point, really, maybe a couple people through AIM, on chat rooms he talks to. But even now, Scotty really is the only person who he talks to.
Have the grandparents tried to build bridges, or are they still auxiliary characters in your periphery?
Definitely auxiliary. Dad's parents have completely they're not even in the picture. And although his dad's dad came around for a bit when he started drinking, they would hang out and get beers. Mom's parents, there's no contact. They kind of gave up a couple years ago.
And this is not just with you, like this is with their own children, like they've cut off their own children.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you ever feel like it's your fault?
No.
Okay.
Okay. So what we'll do then is let's jump ahead to 2004. I chose it because then I can go 4 years to 18, you see. You're 14 right now. Parents, how they doing?
Dad's not home much. Dad works late. And that's what his mom says. The truth is Dad's been fired from every job he's ever worked at. Dad is now selling weed to make money. He's also, though they can't prove anything, he's also taken to breaking and entering. Mom is still working lots and lots of hours. She now has 2 jobs. She sees him for maybe, 2 hours a day. She helps get him ready for school. That's still a big part of their ritual. And she tucks him in at night. But that's pretty much most of the contact.
Yeah, sibling?
No. Since he was born, his parents have taken great care to make sure that he's the only one. Although his mom is pretty sure that his dad is fucking someone else. She just can't prove it.
So I got a question on this one. You got a bicycle. Now, your parents or your mom bought it for you secondhand as a birthday present, of course. Got it from the local thrift store, but it was still your bike.
Yep.
It's stolen one day. And you're pretty sure you know who took it. Kids down the street. What do you do?
He tells his dad. And his dad says he's going to go over there and make them give it back. And so the dad goes over there and gets into a fight with the other kid's dad, like a full-on fist fight. And then comes home, and that was the catalyst for a major fight. He took it out on Mom, and he took it out on me.
Did you get the bike back?
I did later, because I just went over and took it. I waited till everybody was asleep, and then I went over and took the bike. Because that's what they do in the movies. And that is what he thought was a good idea.
What did you think of your father after that? He went over there to get your bike, got in a fight, come back, lost the fight obviously enough because he didn't get the bike back. How did your father look in your eyes after that?
I think he stopped looking like anything for a while. Once that happened, something changed, because in his mind, even though his dad reminded him of John Bender's dad from The Breakfast Club, his dad became John Bender to him once he saw The Breakfast Club. And once his dad did that, he basically in his mind said, okay, now he's like Bender's dad. Dads don't treat their kids that way. So if he doesn't want to be a dad, I don't need him for a dad. I have everything else I need.
Meg AC wants to know, do you still have your imaginary friend?
He's not imaginary. He's right there. Scotty is still around. He is now little more than a small bit of stuffing inside a mended and tattered vague outline of a Snoopy doll, but he's still there.
Does it ever talk to you?
It never has to.
Just curious if it ever talks to you, because that was a question actually I've asked before of somebody else, and her response was yes.
It never speaks out loud, but he knows he knows what it's going to say as he says it. Like, it's almost like a form of confirmation bias and counseling at the same time. You know, he still doesn't have, he has people at school now that people in the AV club. He's now in the AV club.
So you're friends with the other outcasts.
Yeah, we talk video games a lot. At this point, he has a PlayStation. He has a PS1, and that has become his whole life. He's kind of switched from TV to video games at this point.
Bardic Sway wants to know, though, on that, because it relates to this. Was there any pop culture character you tried to be or wanted to emulate? And it would also apply, since you're absorbing yourself in video games. Is there a pop culture character you saw on TV or in a game that you wanted to be like or emulate?
So at the age of 10, he saw Nightmare on Elm Street. He was sick. He had a fever and he couldn't sleep. And so he was flipping through the channels after his mom put him to bed. And the first Nightmare on Elm Street came on, and his first memory of it was when Johnny Depp gets pulled through the bed and the blood geyser comes up. And so that was the scariest thing he's ever seen. And that also started his love of horror movie villains. So while there's no pop culture person he's aspiring to be, he's discovered a pop culture archetype that he loves. He's now very into horror movies. Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. In fact, that's where he's starting to find common ground with the other kids, because their parents won't let them watch a lot of these movies, and the ones that have, they have cool things to talk about.
So Relim wants to know, though, how's your dynamic with real animals, since your favorite is a stuffed companion? How are you with real animals?
He thinks they're cool. He doesn't like dogs. He likes his cat. They had a cat for a very brief period of time, and then they got rid of it. He loved the cat while they had it. But now he's very into video games, loves Mortal Kombat, loves horror movies, and he's gotten even more into the medical, because now he knows how to navigate geosites and Angel Fire web pages. He's created his own. And he's also decided that he's really interested in anatomy. He's no longer like wants to be George Clooney. Now he wants to be the detectives from the horror movies, where they find the awful scene and begin to piece together what happened and track down the supernatural killer. And he knows that the medical field is, he also kind of clings to the idea that, poor people becoming a doctor is something you should want to do. Poor people don't get to be doctors. So that's what he feels like he should be doing.
So Will or Gray, any other questions?
He's really into anatomy and everything. Is he planning to take it to a further step, become a doctor, or still not in his mind?
He thinks that that's something he wants to do. Because of his new fascination, he's enrolled in CPR and first aid. He watches a lot of medical documentaries. He's discovered Rotten.com and Something Awful, and spends a lot of time on those web pages now.
Oh, shit, you're a goon. Damn it.
No, because he doesn't troll people.
No, goons are just members of Something Awful.
Yeah. He's not a troll. He asks a lot of questions, though. He is he's leaning that way towards medical.
Okay, you're 14. Any romantic interest?
He's had some girls he had a crush on, and he wrote them poetry and would write little scenes for them. He was really into a theater girl for a while, and so he wrote her a play, like a little screenplay, and they all kind of laughed at him. But he's still under the impression that you can do romantic gestures like that, and that's how you get your true love, because that's what TD taught him when he was a kid.
So I think we've covered 14 well enough. Let's jump to 2008. You're 18, the big 18. Let's ask the obvious question: what's going on with home?
His dad's dead.
Dad's dead. What happened to him?
Yeah, they'd gotten married. He was unaware of it. They got married when he was 15. Dad died in a drunk driving accident. Basically, towards the tail end of 14, they got married. He was 17 when they got divorced, and 16 when they got divorced, 17 when his dad died in a drunk driving accident.
Was he the driver or somebody else?
Oh, he was definitely the driver. Killed 2 people.
How did that affect you?
A lot, because not only is his dad dead, even though they were estranged, his dad killed people. And so the immediate family reputation was that, the mom became almost instantly further ostracized. So they moved to Portland right about this time, just before he was supposed to graduate high school. So now he's in a completely different school his senior, by the end of his senior year. And he, now all of his friends he can still keep in touch with, though, through instant messenger. And he actually finds that he's missing them, like the physical interaction.
Here's the question on the death, though. What upsets you more, the fact that your father died or that 2 people were killed by him? Which was more impactful?
I think the idea of it. I think not so much that these people, including his dad, died, but that his dad was a drunk driver that killed 2 people. And it isn't even the social stigma. It's that that's something that's bad. And so he thinks it's bad. Maddox
wants to know if Scotty's still around.
Scotty has completely disintegrated at this point. And at 16, he finally threw him away, and he cried for a week. He mourned him like he mourned his best friend. And since then, he's actually gone out by himself when his mom's not around and has tried to find a new secondhand stuffed animal. He doesn't want a new one. He wants one that has been loved and is looking for a new home.
I assume you still mentally love him, because that's Sway's question.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Again, his best friend died. He knows he was a stuffed animal. He knows that it was a toy. He's 18. He knows that it was a child's toy, but he still
But do you still mentally talk to Scotty as if Scotty's there?
No, he wishes he could talk to Scotty. Now he talks to people on the internet.
Are you working? Do you have a job?
He works part-time. Well, he was working part-time at a gas station. And now he doesn't have a job. They just moved. He's trying to get a gig at a movie theater because that's a great job. He immediately has gotten into the new AV club where he's got a lot of static, because he came in and wanted to basically resume the role he had, which was the direct teacher's aide for the AV club, and someone's already doing that.
Okay,
so
I'm gonna open it up.
Kind of got him. Go ahead.
I'm going to open it up to Will and Gray, because you're verbose and you're pulling a Mickey, so I'm going to open it up to Will and Gray.
Thank you.
I don't want to pull a Mickey. That's awful.
Some of us will want to pull a Mickey.
Different kind of pulling.
Different kind. We'll play him off. Ben, you said your dad passed away. Has your mom remarried? Is there another man
No.
in your life?
No. So what's going to be happening this year, just after he graduates, is one of the jobs she worked, she had a life insurance policy that was part of the standard employee package. And it was family. It was for the family. And so when he died, there was a error in the paperwork where it was just considered an automobile accident, not a drunk driving accident. So they get a lot of money for the father's death. Oh, Mickey, we were just playing stuff. So that's the money he's going to be going to school with. He wants to go to UNH and study medicine.
Okay, let's see. Maddox wants to know, are you starting to gravitate to Brad crowds, or are you still on a shaky but stable path on the right side of the law and that kind of thing?
I think the law is largely irrelevant. He doesn't get in trouble, but that's because he hasn't done anything super crime-worthy. He's broken into a lot of places. He likes to go on one of the things that's part and parcel with his online excursions are like haunted and derelict places. So he goes on adventures. He packs a lunch and a flashlight and goes to places that are supposed to be haunted.
So you like haunted places. Okay, that's a good one to know.
Well, yeah, I'm playing it.
Let's see. Wait a minute. With Dad not in the picture anymore, does either set of grandparents actually try to repair what's been done?
No. He hasn't seen his dad's grandparents since he was a little kid. He still doesn't have much of a relationship with his grandparents, although they will come into the picture later on. He, at the end of his 18th year, he is going to sample alcohol, and that's going to cause a pattern. But it hasn't. Basically, like, he ends up going to a party at the end of his 18th year, senior party. All the kids were invited to it. He just showed up because he figured he'd try to be social. He got drunk for the first time, and then that started a pattern going throughout his life.
Okay. Before your father died, basically, did you learn anything from your father about crime before he died?
No, not really. He was too focused on his own little world to think about.
Sway wants to know, do people other vocalize how they feel about you and your family? They ever call you, I mean, you moved, so it's less likely to be known. Crazy. They call you crazy, killers, freaks, those kind of things.
I mean, there's rumors about what happened, why he moved here his senior year. You know, there's rumors of everything from his dad's, killed somebody, his mom, ran off with some guy into the night, there's a lot of small town rumors, despite the fact Portland is definitely a larger city. But kids talk. He hasn't said anything one way or the other. So, and no one's really thought to actually ask him. They just kind of whisper behind his back, but he knows about it.
Okay. Gray or Ben, I'll give Gray or Will, I'll give you any last questions you have for him, or we're going to move to the next year.
I'm excited to see what happens to him moving forward.
Okay, then we're going to jump to 2012. He's 22 now. What you got at 22? Still in Portland?
So he's failed out of UNH. He moved to New Hampshire to go to school, following a drunk driving accident.
So you're a drinker too?
Yes. Nobody was hurt, but his car was completely totaled. this caused his mother to completely cut him out of her life. Now that he did what the dad did, and that he's realized he's gotten older, was like the alcohol, and the alcoholism was one of the main things that caused the tension between the parents as life went on. He developed a taste for it in college, and even though he was only there for a short time, he basically failed out after the legal troubles, and he spent about 30 days in jail. He didn't get, he can get his license back one day. But yeah. So he's now working third shift at a gas station / convenience store, where they have internet in the manager's office. And so he goes on there. He was in love with it. The first time he got to dissect a cadaver was a life-changing experience for him. He became totally into the anatomy portion of things.
Okay. Hang on. Did that car accident cause you to stop drinking?
As much. He said he was going to lay off it for a while, but he didn't take. He's at this point, he's had a couple unsuccessful relationships that only last for a little bit. He's met them exclusively through OkCupid, because that was starting to get off in the early 2000s.
Okay.
Yep. And people are drawn to him because when he writes, he's incredibly verbose and thoughtful, and then they meet him and things either go south, or he dates them for a while and notices things that he doesn't like.
Anyone ever comment on your fascination with medical procedures?
Well, that's how one of them, and they met and shared a love of horror movies, and she thought it was really cool that he got to do work on, cadavers and other stuff, and that was pretty much like the basis of their relationship in the beginning. But she turned out to be a horrendous racist, so they split.
Okay. Will or Gray, questions? Trying to watch the time because I know it's very late for Gray, so I'm trying not to run it too late tonight.
No, I'm good for now.
Yep.
I'm looking at what you've got here on this. You ever have any odd ideas for medical procedures? Do you get this? Is it about the saving, or is it about the tinkering inside somebody? I guess I should say. And going on that same one, Punk Stock Dead wants to know, do you have any bones or curios around the house?
He's picked up medical antiques, like weird ones. Like he has a fetus in a jar. He has, a skull, but nothing like old antique medical equipment with bloodstains on it. Nothing like that. He's, as far as like the saving or the doing, I think again, it's not so much a want to save as it is a want to experience. If his knowledge,
tattoos? I want to know if you got tattoos. Yes. Oh, there you go.
He does. He has the Mark of Flame from the Suikoden RPG series on the inside of his left forearm.
Are we doing Ben? Never mind.
No. There's a couple
Side
parallels,
joke.
But no. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from people? Because now we're getting into him full adult. See, your relationships failed. I think we're good at 22. But we're going to jump to 2016. You're 26. Now you're in the prime of shit going down, right?
Yes. So at this point, he's been fired from a number of his jobs. He is on medication for schizophrenia because at this point he has bought another stuffed animal after his last relationship ended, and due to his drinking, he has bought another one. This one's named Terry. It is another Snoopy doll because it reminded him of the one from as a kid. He doesn't talk to it as much, but he does have conversations now and then. It doesn't talk back. He knows it's a toy, but it's a comfort thing for him. And he's always got it around. He now works part-time as an admin for the relationship site Second Chances, which is a dating site for divorcees.
Okay.
He writes guides on how to send messages to other people. He is really good at he writes on what the good conversation starters are, what topics to avoid, when you should bring up your past relationship to your partner. He maintains a lot of the he also does a lot of their actual admin, like, the website and whatnot.
Okay. Sway wants to know, though, have you ever mentally or in reality explored the thought of medical experimentation on someone you know? Damn, that's a fucked up question. I like it.
He has. Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. He doesn't have a plan to do it, but he's thought about it. It's one of those things where, like, it's not a conscious obsession or a constant thought, but like occasionally he'll tune out and he'll realize that he's kind of already picked out, like, I know that if I just did this to this person, this would happen. Like, if they're busy, if they're running their mouth or they're being abusive, he thinks to himself, man, if I could just put a little bit of pressure on the carotid, you would bleed out in X amount of seconds, and the response time for ER wouldn't be for another 3 minutes. Like, he hasn't never done anything, but that's his thought process when threatened.
Okay. On the medical thing, Maddox wants to know if there's a medical mystery you want to solve.
No, it's just something he knows about and something he is into. He still writes he writes a lot more now than he did. He got out of it for a few years, but now he's writing more again. He's been trying to develop a video game, point and click adventure story about someone trapped in an abandoned medical facility and horrible things coming after them.
In 2016, a point and click game that'll sell well.
Yep. That's what he liked when he was a kid.
Sway wants to know, do you, as life has progressed, is there a pop culture character you've tried to emulate or feel like represents you in the kind of way, or who do you feel like you really are?
He's a gamer. That's the culture he's adopted. He's a gamer. Video games, though, not tabletop. He likes to wear, he's mostly a t-shirt and jeans guy. Doesn't wear, overcoats or anything. He's got a secondhand pea coat as his primary winter clothing. Doesn't own a pair of boots, even though he lives in New England and probably should. He plays a lot of online MMOs, Guild Wars being a big one. And he's 26 now, right?
Yep, 26.
He has a long-distance relationship with a girl named Olga, who plays Guild Wars. She's Russian.
Oh, I hope If you say Portuguese with a name like Olga, I have to wonder, it'd be odd. But, any questions from Will or Gray?
Given what happened to his father and his connection to alcoholism, do you feel like Jason's ever going to fall down the same rabbit hole or end up the same way?
I don't think that he thinks he will. I think that all it takes is one bad day for anyone that's ever had a problem with it to have that happen. But not, he doesn't think it's going to be that big of an issue.
Do you feel better dealing with people face to face, or do you feel better when you don't have to see them and you deal with them online? Is it more comfortable interacting online with people than, physically?
I think it depends. I think it depends on the person. He's fine working at the convenience store. He has his regulars that come in. He's sociable. He's very composed. He's great with people. He's just not online or in person is about the same interaction level for him.
Ivy Raven has a good one. Does Olga only interact with you at night when it's her time?
She's made allowances for him.
Well, no, but when she responds, is it nighttime where she's at?
Oh, no. It's at nighttime and daytime.
Okay, because the hint was whether she was a kindred or not.
No. No.
Okay.
He's also been seeing a doctor now, like I mentioned, for schizophrenia for 2 years. The doctor's been concerned.
What's your reputation like online? Are you known as somebody who can do things, get things, find things? Are you known for your Google foo? I mean, those kind of things.
His Google foo is strong. He's known mostly for careful and thoughtful responses to questions that are often researched. Again, never trolls, never attacks, never takes a hostile stance. If someone tries to bait him into things, he just ends the conversation. And he has noticed since he started the meds that he hasn't played as many video games. But he's sure that's just a side effect from the medication.
Ivy Raven wants to know, does Olga send you pictures? And if she does, do they feel like real pictures? Or do they feel like they're pulled from somewhere? I think the angle is that you may have been catfished.
She has a MySpace page. And there's a lot of
2016.
pictures on that.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
MySpace was huge in Russia in 2016.
That's impressive.
I've been trying to get her to move to Facebook, but she's hesitant. But yeah, she's got pictures on there. They don't look photoshopped, but he's not a forensic level decryption person.
Let's hear from Gray and Will on this one. Questions, Gray or Will?
Do you have anything, Gray? Because I have one.
No, go on.
Given your penchant for medical situations and stuff, have you ever attempted anything on yourself?
He tried to give himself a tattoo once of a scalpel. Ironically, he tried to do it with a scalpel. He looked up scarification as opposed to tattoos and thought he'd give that a try. Didn't work very well, but he knew how to treat it when it didn't. But he was confident he could pull it off. It looks good, but it's definitely a little muddled.
Okay, Gray, you got a question?
Yeah, we spoke about if you were known on the internet, but on the convenience store, are you legit or are you pulling some things on the counter?
He's legit. The only untoward thing he does is occasionally he steals snacks and energy drinks. His boss knows about it, even though he's not supposed to do it. But he's a good employee and he works his entire shift. He's heard about this thing called Uber, and he might start driving for them pretty soon. But it hasn't taken off yet. But he's used to taking a taxi for work, and he thinks that not being at the beck and call of a taxi company is not a bad idea.
Yeah. Any other questions from Will and Gray? So we're getting into 2020, and let's talk about your clans here, because I'm not going to lie, chat and myself all are seeing a lot of NOS here. We're seeing some Malk from the schizoaffective disorder, but there's a lot of NOS here.
Well, 2020 is an interesting year because he's considered an essential worker, because for whatever reason, convenience store workers are still considered essential during the pandemic. He's driving for Uber at this point as a way to make money, and has started to he has started to have a lot of conversations with people that have made them not have him again. They gave him a 1-star review. He's asking a lot more questions about, like, if they've seen certain shows and certain podcasts, and he's become really into murder porn, like the informative murder porn podcasts.
I Never Should Have Married Him, or I Married an Axe Murderer, or
that kind of thing.
So again, no, I'm feeling NOS or Malk, but I really think the Malk is secondary to the NOS. There's a lot of NOS in you, man. I'm going to see what Will, and hang on, let's get Will and Gray's input and the chats. Maddox says even Kaitif.
Yeah.
I mean, Kaitif would be an interesting. It's always Kaitif's always an option, as is Thin Blood technically. But I'm seeing a lot of NOS.
Thin Blood and Kaitif were also on my list, but I didn't know I could pick those.
Well, they're always an option because they don't really have a clan type they go for. They just end up being something.
Yeah, I would have listed that as one of my 3 instead of Samedi if I knew that was an option.
Yeah, the Nosferatu is low-hanging fruit. Like, I think that's the easiest one to grab. But I think with all the medicinal things and all the kind of backgrounds of the alcoholism and everything, I could lean towards Thin Blood.
Where you start using the alcohol to with Thin Blood alchemy. Interesting. Yeah. That's an interesting angle where you end up using the alcohol as part of the way most of your recipes for Thin Blood alchemy is alcohol related.
And is medical stuff.
Yeah. That actually is a good one. That's, an angle, but yeah. So we could go, Thin Blood would be a good one, I think, in that one. But a NOS Thin Blood, Mama McStabber said, you were embraced by a NOS because you got noticed online, but you ended up a Thin Blood.
Oh, could be interesting.
Yeah.
The blood wasn't quite strong enough in this NOS. Yeah. That would make it a very interesting character, where you're using your medical knowledge and your the alcohol and your experiences with that.
I would be leaning more towards Malk Thin Blood, but obviously
you could have got noticed by your doctor's office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His or a lot of his interactions online.
So we would go Thin Blood, and there's where your embrace, you would determine, as you make your character, what you feel best, because we got the clan, which is technically Thin Blood, and then you could decide whether it's NOS or Malk based on the story you're wanting to tell. But definitely Thin Blood. So for those that have been watching this whole time, Ravnos Archon Bruja, I Am Gray was Ben Akeem, and Rev Ben Powers Thin Blood. And this is the Shanky Session 0 method. Like I said, it's more like Session -1, because it's really just covering your life as a human. But by knowing where you start from, as the book says, kindred don't change much. A kindred is known for being the same through time, other than going a little paranoid, a little bit more monstrous. So knowing where you start from is a key point in moving forward. And yes, it's all a mistake I made in the beginning, but after doing it and then realizing how I made a mistake, I realized I love this method, and we've used it for Windy City. We used it for DC. Urian used it to make his Wraith character without doing it. He did it solo. So he wrote out his own timeline, jumping years ahead, and did it on his own. And it works. It gives you a good way to fill out your characters. I'm glad you all participated in this. It's getting very late for Gray. Gray is not from the U.S. He's overseas. And I thank you for coming and joining this. And I thank, of course, everyone watching and the people who are involved in it. I think let me go around the table and get everyone's opinion on this now that they've been part of it. We'll start with Will.
I definitely have enjoyed this. I've always had come to character creation for Vampire like as a one-on-one, and then as a storyteller I've kind of used what we learned in our character creation to weave backgrounds together. I like that this is done cooperatively.
Yeah, because by doing it this way, looks like we could wrap Will the Bruja with the Banu Hakim because of the mother.
Yep.
There's a little linked way to do it. And I know some people don't want to do it cooperative because they like to keep bits of their backstory hidden from the other players. But if you have a table that doesn't meta the backstories of each other that way, it works perfectly fine to do it this way. You can know what each other's because you can craft your stories together. Gray, how did you feel about this?
It was really pleasant because you start with an idea, and the way you are evolving with the time, your little idea is starting to grow little by little. And it's really interesting. It's something I'm going to keep in mind because it's really, it's really interesting. And like you said, with the mother, that could be a link with Will. I can imagine with other players when you build up some characters, it can really be interesting because, like you said, you spoke about Urien as well, about he was in the army as well. It will be possible that at some point we met each other, and it's really interesting. And I never.
Yep. And then we could have a link with your father, Gray, disappearing because of Jacqueline or Colette at the time. There in France because he disappeared in France, and guess what? That was the year she was embraced. So,
there's a gas station in every town, and everybody uses Uber.
And okay, Ben, what did you think?
I loved it. I love doing character creation like this. I've done it a lot in my own games on a smaller scale. Having the chat included was actually really, really cool. Because there were a lot of outside questions I wasn't necessarily expecting, and it helped add some depth to it and made it collaborative, even greater than the scale of who was here. I think it was really cool because the questions that you were being asked also provide you insight about the people asking the questions.
Yep. We did this for Windy City, full 6 people. The whole cast did this together. Now, unfortunately, when Mickey was coming over, he did his by himself, though the rest of the cast was there to hit him with questions. He only got through his. And when Ivy Raven was coming in, she did hers alone. But we actually saved our session zeros. We recorded them, just the audio, so that everyone at the table can go back and listen to everyone else's session zero method. So that even the new people to the table can hear what went on in the session zero, so that they can see the background and can think of how to weave themselves into it. And it really helps out with that. I love that. I'm going to go into my outro now so that Gray can get some sleep because, I don't want to keep him up too late, and he's recovering, and, we hope he gets well soon. People get hurt. Accidents happen, right? I mean, it is what it is. So everybody knows, of course, if you want to join us on the Discord, we cast our shows from the Discord. This was cast from our Discord. I made a casting call. Bunch of people applied. I picked who was going to get to do it. And this is how this comes about. So pop over our Discord, meet some nice people. You might get cast in some of our streams, some one-shot, some long-running chronicles, because I heard one of the people at this table was permanently supposed to be joining a Call of Cthulhu cast. They started off as a guest, and now they get to be there for every episode. I'm not saying which one it is, but he might be showing it right now.
Spoilers.
Yeah. So that's cool. Just watch out. Ravinia stabbed people. She's got no problem sticking a cavalry saber in you.
I almost set them on fire. It's fair play.
Just pointing that out. If you like what we're doing here on Twitch or on YouTube, if you're on Twitch, you can give us a follow. Give us a subscribe. If you have Prime, you get a free subscription. So bits and donations, they go to the players that you see in the stream, not to myself. The studio gets the subscriptions. Bits and donations, they go to players. So it's a way for the viewers to give back to whoever you see in a stream if you want. If you want to catch our back episodes, of course, YouTube. Our schedule this week. Let's see. Well, we just did this unique vampire here. Tuesday, we're back to Werewolf with storyteller Ravinia as Phoenix's Call, Werewolf the Apocalypse 20th anniversary. It's set in 1996 Wyoming. Coterie, Wyoming, as a matter of fact. It's an interesting story. Poor Ravenous Archon there. He's no longer in it because he died. His character went out like a hero, went out like a boss, but he still fell. It happens. Saturday, if you want to see more of Rev Ben Powers, this Saturday, Blades in the Dark, 3 p.m. Eastern. Come watch Blades in the Dark with the Obsidian Syndicate as Rev Ben Powers, his full Chaos Gremlin, jumps out the windows rather than climbs out using climbing tools. So check that out. If you want to get some merch, check out the merch. Next Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, we are airing our Windy City After Dark Vampire the Masquerade intermissions. It's basically the little bit that happens between season 3 and season 4. You're going to find out about the fight that Nolan was involved against Tally, and then you're going to see the after effects after the fight as we finish the scene where the season ended with the Coterie in the penthouse suite full of blood. So that's an interesting one to catch, and you don't want to miss that. And coming up soon, Rolando will also be doing her stream of You Will Destroy Something Beautiful. It's not this week, but it is coming very soon. And seriously, check that. When she does that stream, check that one out, because You Will Destroy Something Beautiful is a very short, collaborative storytelling game, and it's awesome. We love that. And now I'm going to go into one of the friends. You want to catch out our friends? We've got some amazing content here. One of them in particular, you see him right there, Ravenous Archon. He has his own channel on Twitch. You should go and watch that channel, or go to that channel on Twitch. Give him a follow. Watch his shows. He does Vampire. He did D&D yesterday. He does Star Wars on Fridays. And he's on his season break from Legends of the Five Rings, which may be why he got so interested when I Am Gray said he moved to Tokyo. Ravenous Archon was like right there with it. He was ready for that one.
I was in that boat.
Yep. And as we always do here at McStabber Studios, we end every stream with public service announcement about mental health. Please, everyone, mental health, it's not a joke. It's not a laughing matter. It is a very serious subject. Please check in on those around you. Check in on your friends, your loved ones, your family members. Make sure they're okay, please, because a lot of people aren't right now. And if you are someone who suffers from mental health issues, like many of us do, myself included, please don't be afraid to reach out to those around you to talk to somebody, because we all need to talk to people sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with having a mental health issue. It is perfectly normal. I think the majority of people have some sort of mental health trauma, and you've got to reach out and talk to people. And if you don't have anyone in your life you're willing to talk with, or you can't afford to talk to a professional, right now in chat, there's a list of numbers you can call or text 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to speak with somebody that might be able to help you and keep you off that ledge. And if you're not in the US, like a lot of our viewers are, there's a website right now in chat you can go to, and you can find out where support is in your country and who you can call and who you can text, because mental health is that important. And finally, since my wife isn't in this stream, I have to say, please get your COVID vaccination. Don't fuck around with that shit, because the Delta variant is gone crazy. Yes, you can still get COVID if you've got your vaccine, but you're not going to fill up the ICU like everybody else is. So the difference between ICU and not is worth the shot. The hospitals can't take any more ICU people right now. And so please get your shot. The side effects of the shot are temporary, and you'll get over it much faster than you will COVID. So please take that seriously. And I thank everyone for coming, and I thank Will and Gray and Ben for joining me here for this, because it was great to do it again and then showing you in a multi-group players. So I thank everyone, and I think given the time we're at here, we are going to be raiding over to Macabre Derek, because I know a couple of our viewers here are Macabre Derek fans. So we're going to go over and raid over to them once I go to our end of the stream thing. So thank you, everybody, and
Thank you,
enjoy the
Shanky.
raid.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Guys.